Welcome back. You're watching NewsX with me, Devika Chopra. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced the Pradhan Mantri Suryoday Yojana, under which 1 crore households will get rooftop solar power systems. And of course, this is not the first scheme under PM Modi's reign that promotes the installation of rooftop solar power systems. In 2014, the government had launched the rooftop solar program that aimed to achieve a cumulative installed capacity of 40,000 megawatts or 40 gigawatts by 2022. Even though that target has not yet been achieved and it has been postponed to 2026, we are now seeing that through this new initiative, clearly the focus of the government continues to be on solar energy. What does this truly mean for India? We take this conversation forward. I have with me Mithali Nikore, senior economist. Manan Mehta, who's the CEO of Solar Ladder, is also with us. Rohit Tikku, CEO of Bluebird Solar, and Abhishek Mazumdar, who's the head of Embassy Services, is also with us on the broadcast. Let me begin this conversation, if I can, with Manan Mehta. Mr. Manan Mehta, thank you so much for speaking to NewsX. I want to understand from you, if you can help explain. We've tried to put together some of the maths for our viewers as far as solar consumption is concerned. But if you can help perhaps break it down better, because there is not, it seems, enough information for us to understand how exactly does one household benefit from solar panels and solar energy.
Thank you so much, Devika, for having me. It's a pleasure to be on this panel. So, you're absolutely correct in saying that India has not been able to meet its rooftop solar targets up until now. But what's very interesting is that, prior to this, there wasn't a lot of policy changes or the ecosystem changes that were happening on top of the targets that were being set. But if you look at the entire ecosystem, whether that be financial institutions, the DISCOMs, or the central government agency, and the entire manufacturing lay of the land as well, all of it is coming together now to make these targets more feasible than ever before. In terms of unit economics of rooftop solar it's a 25-year investment, and without the subsidy, a house can break even on the investment in 3 to 4 years. One plant would cost somewhere around 2.5 to 3.5 lakhs, depending on the electricity consumption. And after the 3rd to 5th year, the electricity is essentially free for the household who is putting up this rooftop solar power plant.
So, Manan, if you can just break that down in slightly lesser technical terms, what would be, you said the cost for each house to install rooftop solar panels is between 2.5 to 3.5 lakhs?
That's right.
And
yes.
This is, what sort of a house are we talking about? In terms of basic amenities, how much would this cover?
So I'm talking about a typical standalone house. I'm not talking about the residential societies of India. 95% of households are still standalone houses in tier 2, tier 3 cities. And that's the one that I'm talking about. 2.5 to 3.5 lakhs would be somewhere around 5 to 7 kilowatts of power plant, which would consume about 500 to 700 square feet of rooftop space. And it can cover as much as 70 to 90% of your electricity needs. And in terms of break even, as I mentioned, it can take 4 years, but with subsidy that can come down to as much as 2 years. So after the 2-year investment, you're essentially getting free electricity for the rest of the life of the plant, which is 25 years.
Okay, and every 25 years, roughly, one would have to then go through the process again of reinstallation.
That's correct.
All right, Manan, I'll come back to you in just a moment. Mr. Rohit Tikku also with us, CEO of Bluebird Solar. Mr. Tikku, I'd just like to understand from you as well, sir, in terms of the unit economics, and I'm sure you've done your own calculations and you've spoken to people and you've supplied these solar systems to households. What roughly are the estimates that come about, sir? When you try to sell, for example, switching to solar to people, on what basis are you really then making that presentation?
Thanks, Devika, for having me on the show. Well, to start off with, the thumb rule, what Ministry of New and Renewable Energy in terms of for per kilowatt. Right now, it's ranging between around 45 to 55,000 per kilowatt. So in terms of their installed load for each household, ranging between 2 to 5 kilowatt, or big residential houses which goes up to 10 kilowatt also. So this is a rough number that I can transpire into by multiplying the per watt peak per kilowatt into the number what I already given, or it's a benchmark number what has been put up by ministry. And further now, the start of this year, the ministry has made this entire process much more easier. The red taping has all been cut through. Now anyone required to have this can submit for the DPR. Can simply put their residential power bill for past 6 months, and the makes what they are going to put up for approval, and instantly after that into the portal, after installation, installation photographs, few more the documents and all, and that's it. So with this push, I think the process is much more simplified. The costs have eventually come down significantly. Now the entire solar roofs can be transpired into a what we call is a prosumer. So
Okay.
the consumer would be itself the selling pitches, they can produce also and then consume themselves also.
At the same time, Mr. Tikku, when people do come to you with the queries, what really are the major challenges then one faces in terms of installation in cities? I was having a conversation earlier with some economists as well, and they pointed out, for example, in a city like Delhi, where you don't necessarily have a standard length of the building. So, I may have an old house which is at a lower level that doesn't get the sunshine because there are now builder buildings all across, and they've cut out all the sunlight. Then how do I go about the process? So if you can just maybe share some major challenges in terms of the other infrastructure and the physical buildings itself that continue to be a hindrance in terms of accepting solar.
Yes, I agree, Devika. With the there are multiple things required. So in order the roof to be in order, there has to be significant sunlight falling through. The panels have to be put in south direction. So from south there should be no major shadow area. So, but in order, with the technology evolving, we have now micro inverters available, which help even in shadow or low sunshine areas to boost up the entire generation, so that there are certain roofs which throughout the year continue to have a lot of shading and all, so they can still now come and get the solar panels installed on their roofs. So with technology evolving, I think this is now which was a major hurdle, can now be tackled easily.
Okay, I'm going to bring in Mr. Abhishek Mazumdar as well into the conversation. Mr. Mazumdar, if you can firstly help our viewers understand what exactly does the Embassy Services Private Limited does, because I've been told that there's a solar power plant spread across 450 acres near Bellary, Karnataka. If you can just shed some more light on that, sir.
Yeah, thank you, and pleasure being here. Embassy services, there are multiple services we are into, but specifically regarding renewable energy, our focus is to source green power for our own consumptions. That's a major. For that, we already have installed odd 130 megawatt and doing an operation maintenance for another 100 megawatt solar plant here itself in Karnataka. And on the roof of the buildings which we own or we actually occupiers are there, right, in the multiple states in Karnataka, Maharashtra, Delhi and Chennai. So there also we put up solar panels, what are the space available there for the common area use. So prime to enter into is to source green power as much as possible.
So Mr. Mazumdar, these are, I'm assuming, very large buildings and offices where you've put up your solar panels?
Yeah, so at least one building would be 11 or 12-story building.
Okay.
And it would be a big business parks, like in Bangalore, we have 3 business parks, right? And in Pune, we have three another business parks. In Noida, we have 2 business parks. So
Okay.
that we put together, if you say 22 odd megawatt is on the roof only.
So all of these business parks are powered with solar energy.
Yeah, on the roof, 22 megawatt put all together. And
Okay.
in Karnataka, we are sourcing almost 65 to 70% from solar.
And are there any challenges and hurdles that you have perhaps faced, or just if you can share with our viewers what your experience has been? Because earlier we were also discussing the ability to move beyond, say, houses and residential blocks to maybe larger buildings that consume electricity on a 24/7 basis. So, what really has your experience been in terms of solar consumption? If you can maybe also shed some light on how has it helped with your budgets?
See, budget is very specifically defined by MNRE and the multiple distribution company. So budget is not a hurdle. But yeah, definitely right now, as per the new scheme launched by PM, is basically targeting the poor and middle class.
Yes.
So for them, definitely subsidy would be a plus, right? And now providing them free of cost, so would be another push to the solar market. But other than that, for the higher income group and all, budget won't be any issue. It was specifically mentioned that you can plan while constructing your house as well. And considering your capacity for a small household for a middle class is somewhat 1 kilowatt would be sufficient enough, comprising somewhere 100 unit to 120 units a month, right? So that way, installation of 1 kilowatt solar rooftop 40K with a subsidy of 40% is a cheaper one. Only challenge is the awareness in the public, right? So
Okay.
should be public, say representative, should be vocal enough to the citizens of India, like that this policy is there and you can avail this policy. That awareness, I feel, one issue.
Okay.
Otherwise, I have actually closely watched a run in Bihar, state like Bihar and Jharkhand, where all the police station being equipped with the solar and that too with the battery storage system, right? So it's pretty well managed by the distribution company then and there. But at a local level, for a resident level, definitely awareness would be an issue. But if
Okay.
you go
But
to the
Mr.
state
Mazumdar,
like
sorry to interrupt you there. When I say budget, I meant that when you decided or your company decided to install the solar panels, of course you must have made a huge investment, but you must have seen the gain that you're getting out of it in terms of monthly savings on electricity in, like I said, large buildings with multiple floors that end up using a lot of electricity. So I just want you to shed some light from that perspective, that were there major savings as far as electricity consumption is concerned? Did you see or could you feel in terms of your monthly expenditures or yearly expenditures that, okay, we've actually managed to save this much amount on our electricity bills?
See, solar on a large scale, it's a break even will come in say 5 years or 5.5 years timeline.
Right.
Because all the installations are say in 2018. Now definitely the break even will reach in 4 years. But definitely post that the levelized cost of generation per unit is somewhere 3.5 rupees. Wherein if you see on an average, the distribution company is charging in Karnataka, if you see in the commercial category is 9 rupees, industrial category is 7 rupee 40 paisa kind of. So definitely saving is there in the long run. So it's basically a maths post 5 years or 6 years of installation where you would be saving 100% of your electricity, what you are paying to the distribution company. More or less, go to Maharashtra, there also the discount from MSCDCL, the charges is 12 rupee. So their saving would be huge. So considering the state distribution company tariff, saving delta would be somewhere 3 to 4 rupee a unit.
Okay, excellent. And that's why it was important for us to understand. Like I said, when you put it in some numbers for people to be able to understand that actually, yes, of course, all of us should try to shift to renewable energy. But when you put it in terms of numbers, it just helps give people more of an incentive to do that. Manan, coming back to you, since you're in the business of supplying the solar panels, I'd just like to understand from you, another aspect that is often raised is how, in terms of maintenance, that once you have in fact installed a solar panel on your rooftop, as far as the electricity is concerned, you can get an electrician who can come and fix a wire if something's gone wrong in the house. Do we now have the ecosystem and infrastructure wherein someone can be trained or people are already trained to come and fix if there is something wrong with your solar power panel?
Right, no, that's a very pertinent question. And the short answer to that is yes. The maintenance of a solar power plant is not at all complex. If I had to break it down into two facets, number one is the monthly or bi-monthly cleaning of the panels that is required in order to optimize the generation.
Okay.
And then there is one more inspection of material required, which is usually done on a quarterly basis. Cleaning a solar panel is just as simple as cleaning a window, so not at all complex. And again, there's a revolution happening in the entire country as far as that a lot of electricians are seeing rooftop solar as a great business opportunity for themselves. So they are also upskilling themselves in order to be able to service their local regions as far as not just solar installation is concerned, but also the operation and maintenance. Even the large companies like Tata Power, Mahindra, when they are operating in the rooftop solar space, they are a summation of their small to medium business channel partners. So they mobilize these channel partners all across the country in order to do the O&M of the small solar that we are looking at.
Right. Okay, Manan, at the same time, if you can also put it a little bit in monetary aspects, what would be the average, say, electricity bill of a home in a city like New Delhi or a Mumbai or a Pune? What would be the monthly electricity bill, and how much of that can be reduced with maybe the installation, like you said, of 1 kilowatt of, solar energy?
Right. So I'll take a city. I'll take an example in Mumbai to begin with. So in Mumbai, residential entities essentially pay somewhere around 8 to 10 rupees per unit of electricity. This is the variable cost.
Okay.
If they have 100 square feet of unencumbered rooftop solar space, they are essentially able to put up 1 kilowatt. Right, and the thing about rooftop solar is that unlike the electricity that you're buying from the discom, you're unloading all the cost on day one itself, and after that the cost of electricity is actually zero.
Right.
But if we had to like distribute the cost of the capex on day one, the cost of electricity, the levelized cost of electricity, what we call in technical jargon, is actually around 3 to 4 rupees. So we are essentially seeing, less than more than 50% slash in the electricity prices from when they were procuring electricity from the grid.
Okay, all right. That really helps put it into perspective. Mr. Tikku, coming back to you, sir, I'd just like to understand from you, there was several other, aspects. Like I said, we were just discussing this a short while earlier, and several other aspects were also raised about just the sheer size of a solar panel as well. And one of our panelists was mentioning how a lot of people don't opt for solar simply because of the look. And also because it takes up a significant amount of your terrace space, and a lot of people today are really fond of keeping their terraces. People have terrace gardens and other such things, something that has become even closer to people's hearts after COVID, where you really now cherish having a personal space on a terrace, at least an open space on a terrace. If most of that is covered with a solar panel, then a lot of people don't want to opt for it. I just want to understand, from a positive perspective, is there now enough R&D and effort being made to maybe perhaps reduce the size, or maybe make it in a way that it doesn't take up as much space, or that it looks good on your terrace?
Certainly, I think with a lot of R&D has gone into these solar panels, we have evolved over the technology. Earlier, poly used to be a prime play product, polycrystalline modules. Now it has completely shifted to P-type PERC, and now going forward N-type PERC modules. And the size of the module has also increased, so that the number of modules or solar panels to be installed on a roof are certainly reduced. Say for 1 kilowatt now, you hardly require, like we have range of 550 watt peak. So two modules are more than sufficient. Or, further in order to enhance the look of your roof, we also have now modules which come with the transparent backsheet, so that it can be put up as a glass packet. So in cities in Delhi, Mumbai, you'll see a lot of tall buildings with glass packet. Instead of glass packets, opting out for solar modules, because one side glass, one side transparent, so it acts as a building integrated photovoltaics, in which the sunlight during the day passes through and becomes a completely green buildings. Similarly, many households for their roofs can use these modules again with a transparent backside. So it gives an additional gain, and also it looks very beautiful. One side it looks the complete cells, and the sunlight also comes in through, and you can use as a on top of your area, sitting area. So with the technology and R&D which has evolved over the years, your roofs can be much beautiful with help of these modules. It
Absolutely.
covers the area as well as gives you the electricity free.
Okay, it's been a great educative exercise for me as well. I thank all of our guests for joining us, and hopefully this conversation will really encourage not just people who will be now beneficiaries of the Suryodaya scheme, but also others who've probably been thinking about installing solar rooftop panels into their homes, but have had a lot of queries. You can perhaps, of course, reach out to both Manan and Mr. Tikku, who provide these services, and get your queries cleared, and maybe take that next step towards making India the hub of renewable energy. On that note, once again, I thank my panelists, and we sip into a very quick break.